Evcol Entertainment presents Beyond the Time Machine, an original sequel to The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. The distant future. To some, the world has become a perfect place. No crime, no hardship, no imagination, no emotion. Sterile. Throughout the preceding years, the time traveler has taken it upon himself to try and carefully correct mistakes made by humans throughout history and help bring what remained of humanity to where it is now. However, one individual had come to fervently question this guarded mantra, demanding human beings fully embrace technology from the past to expedite their current advancement, and delivers a life-threatening ultimatum. You must follow me carefully. I shall have to controvert one or two ideas that are almost universally accepted. The geometry, for instance, they taught you at school is founded on a misconception.
Is not that rather a large thing to expect us to begin upon? Said Philby, an argumentative person with red hair.
I do not mean to ask you to accept anything without reasonable ground for it. You will soon admit as much as I need from you. You know, of course, that a mathematical line, a line of thickness nil, has no real existence. They taught you that. Neither has a mathematical plane. These things are mere abstractions.
I really enjoy listening to this holographic manifestation of Herb, narrating his book. Such exquisite language.
Not unlike his contemporaries, Dickens, Stoker,
right.
Stevenson even.
Said the
I
psychologist.
wish they'd simply get to the point. So much...
Length, breadth, and
What was that
thickness
word you
cannot
told me?
have a real
Exposition. But theirs were such extraordinary stories, often published as serials, weekly papers. They had to lengthen them somehow.
I've wondered on numerous occasions whether it was wise of you to,
What? Tell him that time travel was a reality? There was so much fanciful thought at that time. People simply passed it off as wildly imaginative. That's why I chose him. He had a great mind, and he was such a decent fellow. It was fortuitous that people didn't question where imagination ends and truth begins. Well, they certainly made the most out of the tale. Motion pictures and books galore.
Because it happens that our consciousness moves intermittently in one direction along the ladder from the beginning to the end of our lives.
Kylock, to what do we owe this pleasure?
A brother cannot pay a visit on his sister, especially as I'm about to become an uncle.
I thought you were going to the Guama festival with the others. Surely you'll be missed?
It's a ritual that happens twice a year. I will partake next time.
Ah, but what about Malika?
What of her?
Oh, come, brother. I have seen how you look at her.
And she at you.
You're not going to convince me that there's just friendship there.
I must admit that I find her special. We enjoy engaging in conversations, especially when we have listened to the stories told by Herb.
So, do we see a union of the two of you soon?
Sister, you have such an imagination. We shall see what happens. However, as you know, traveller, my mind is often elsewhere with other thoughts, and I'm not sure whether I'm a suitable union for her.
Kylock, as I have said previously, take it from someone who has spent most of his life searching and researching and then discovering that life and living are so important. One can spend their lifetime looking for answers, when often the answer is right there in front of them.
But from your tales, you have had the benefit of such a varied life. One can say such things with your experiences.
We spoke of this only yesterday. Trust me when I tell you that the life we have here is by far the most enjoyable and peaceful that I have ever experienced.
Again, your experience. But I mean here. The way things are. What I mean is that, well, very few question. They have little desire for increasing their knowledge. They are content to exist. How will we progress if this is what is?
What you speak of is not unique to this time and place. Throughout history, most people just be. Only a few are thinkers, inventors, scientists who push the boundaries and help their kind. We have covered this. However, today the matter seems to play more heavily on your mind. Has something happened for this to do so?
As you are aware, I have been at odds with my situation for some time, spending more hours alone, thinking about our place, thinking about our conversations, listening to Herb, remembering what life was like when the Morlocks terrorized us. A time before your arrival, and the opportunities your being here has presented to us.
And?
I now know something must change, for the good of us all. And it needs to come from you.
In what way?
That is a question I've been asking myself. And, after much thought, I believe I have an answer, which will take much courage on my part to act upon.
An answer?
I need you to...
Oh,
Weena, my dear, are you all right? Is there anything I can do?
no, I'll be fine. It was just a kick.
You need to rest.
Oh, listen, brother, if I hear anyone say that one more time, I shall implode.
Weena, they only have your best interests at heart.
I know, Traveler, but nonetheless, it's frustrating.
But you cannot change such things. It's nature's way.
Really? Coming from your lips, I find that quite ironic.
Meaning?
Gentlemen, please. Can we cease this continued discussion? You have talked at great length about this matter for some time, and to be honest, it is becoming a little tiresome. I have been forced to listen to both your words and thoughts for months. Surely there must come a point when two people who do not necessarily agree on something simply agree to disagree?
As you wish, sister. However, it is not an issue that's going to go away.
Why do you persist with this? Surely you can see that our lives here are truly blessed.
Blessed? It seems to me that the Eloi have allowed you to make all the decisions for us. They have been increasingly yours, and yours alone.
To benefit everyone.
I live the actions that you have decided for all of us.
What? Your increasing discontent is my fault? Do you really believe that? And if I hadn't done what you say I've done, where would we be today? Have you thought of that? Still under the tyranny of the Morlocks, that's where. You nothing more than food for them. I don't understand why we must cover the same ground almost every time we meet these days. There was a time when we would converse about the simple things in life. The weather, where you last ate. Anything other than this single perpetual notion you have of being a victim of me. Over 12 years we have known each other. During the past 2, you have become more agitated. The past year, almost antagonistic.
I continue to pursue this matter because it is of singular importance to me.
I have helped you. I have. Me, all of us, to a place where no one lives in fear. A time of peace.
Living in peace. This is not living. It's merely treading water. A time of complacency. There is so much more we could have. So much more we could know to better ourselves, to advance. So much knowledge survives in the hologram. Why do you not help us use this and the time machine to better ourselves?
You don't understand.
Unlock more of its secrets.
You don't understand,
Ours
Kylock.
has become a place of unquestioning inactivity. Sterile.
Sterile? Secrets? No one is stopping you learning from the hologram, Kylock. Inventing something. Being creative. You are the brightest one amongst the younger people. I am at a loss as to where I went wrong. You need to see that this is our best option. In the past, I did what I could. Am I really to blame for your dissatisfaction?
I'm not sure. Are you?
Look, you seem to lay all that you feel is wrong at my feet.
Kylock, you cannot possibly blame Traveler for our circumstance.
But doesn't he have the ability to control time?
Not control the means through which to travel back and forth at great speed. Only recently I made every effort to explain this to you, Kylock. The only control I have is to possibly influence decisions made. I cannot prevent volcanoes erupting, tidal waves flooding a coastline.
But if you wanted something, you'd use the machine to get it.
Really, what has made you so angry?
All the things he could have done, places he could have been, and you end up here.
And what of it? Be it chance, circumstance, whatever it is, what is so wrong with here? What would you have me do? I cannot stop all events from happening.
All the items of information that could have been saved on the hologram, why are there so few left in its memory? Thousands of years of creativity, research, science, millions of books, paintings, photographs, inventions. What happened to them?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The hologram even says there are trillions of social media entries, but the files are damaged and only a few have survived.
Social media?
Yes, the daily banter that human beings thrived on.
Fall, a source of social decline and isolation.
Again, says you. From what I see, it was an evolution of a new generation.
Evolution! It was a time when people had become little other than human drones. Their dependency on interfacing with technology, especially computers, had reached dangerously high levels and threatened the species' very own organic development.
Meaning?
Young people, less than 10 years of age, Kylock, although being able to work a touchscreen computer keyboard, were often unable to simply catch a ball. Why? Because their natural hand-to-eye coordination had become extinct.
You exaggerate.
No, not in the slightest. It came to a point where no one lived a day without using a machine of some kind. People didn't even walk to a destination anymore. They were picked up from where they stood and carried to where they wanted to go. Everything done through a small portable device. A time when one would order something and expect immediate delivery. There was little or no actual human interaction. The art of conversation, well, that had diminished to such a point that many didn't even say hello to one another anymore unless it was via a machine. I saved what I could in a way I knew how.
But it clearly wasn't good enough. Look what you
Kylock.
missed. But I guess we'll never truly know that, will we?
What I did was never going to be enough. The magnitude of the situation dwarfed me.
You cannot blame yourself for what happened and your attempts to preserve what you could.
How can you say that? He had a time machine.
And what would you have done differently?
I would have made them listen.
Made who? Oh, it's as if I'm talking to a petulant child and not a young man who has much wisdom for his age. You overestimate my ability to influence those who could make the changes you obviously wanted to see happen. At best, I was an observer who on occasion could influence a certain pathway.
Traveler, you don't have to explain yourself.
Well, I think he does. He owes us that.
He owes us nothing. You have little or no knowledge of the personal toll time
Rena.
travel takes on Traveler, on his health.
Rena, there's no need.
There absolutely is. Did you know about his heart?
What? Heart?
Each time he traveled through time, the Traveler risked his life. His heartbeat would become so fast that it neared breaking point.
Rena,
Every
please.
time he traveled, Kylock.
You mustn't get excited.
There had to come a point when he could no longer use the machine for fear of his own death. And I, for one, selfish as it may seem to you and your recently found high ideals. But I would rather him be here now than dead in another time and place. I want him here by my side, a father to our child. What say you to that? For once, nothing.
That still doesn't...
What exactly are you looking for? An apology for time? And what it has led us to?
I want to build upon what people of the past created. I want us to catch up, not merely sit around and peel vegetables and fish with a pole. We are wasting time.
I don't believe this.
You have the means by which to speed things up. I want you to go back, bring us tools, devices, technology that will help us.
Bring back! Look how human development ended up with those things. Is that what you want?
You hold us back. afraid of what might happen if we were given the help we need.
The Eloi, your people, all that could possibly be left of the human species on this planet, needs to evolve at a pace it can cope with. The very fact that you have learned the old language, the language that Herb and I speak, already cheats nature. You can now listen to the hologram's information files, enjoy many of the stories, and understand much of the information years before you probably should.
Cheat nature.
Yes, it truly does. Me being here gives you an unnatural advantage.
If it were an advantage, then you would do more.
More? Do you not listen to what is said to you?
Medicine, help with pain, healing. That knowledge would make things better.
But would it?
Yes!
Kylock, listen to me. I was born in London during the latter 1800s. I am a scientist, not a doctor. The medicines of which you speak are not my speciality. Mine is a mind of science, of physics. What is the point of bringing back medicines or other such things that we would only run out of? They are from a different time. We cannot make them ourselves. It would not be reasonable to keep on returning to collect more. Your Ducature has medicine here that is good for this time, and it works. Why should what was be right for now? Answer me that.
Your lives were better.
Better? No. Just different. True, there were many advances, but not everything worked. It wasn't all good. In fact, for many it was downright miserable. The life here and now is dissimilar from then. Your way of life works with the world and time you live in.
You just don't want to help. You're happy, and that's all you care about. You could make our lives so much better. If you would only bring this knowledge to us.
But you have knowledge here. But having knowledge, and the means, the materials, the machines to make that knowledge real is very different. Maybe, just maybe, much of that knowledge should remain in the past.
I don't believe you.
I know
Kylock, what
you don't.
reason would Traveler have to lie?
Kylock, you are overestimating my abilities here. Imagine me, born the time I was, traveling to the future, to the very same place 300 or 400 years later. What knowledge would I have of that time? That place, even? How would I explain myself? How would I fit in? For the most part, I would be out of my depth. The world would have moved on. It was as much as I could do to keep up with matters as it was.
So you say.
You asked me about why many of the hologram's files are missing or damaged. We spoke recently, did we not, of an electronic network that covered the planet and rose high into the sky. You remember it was called the Internet. People's lives, Kylock, became to depend on this. However, it was damaged by an invisible explosion, something called an electromagnetic pulse. This happened in May 2370, in a war with the planet Venus. This is what destroyed most of what had been uploaded to Herb. The blast destroyed everything electronic. Herb survived because his system was so far underground. The earth, the soil, it protected him to an extent.
What's true and what's not? You just tell me what you want me to hear.
No, how can you even think that? Herb, a source of knowledge hidden for millions of years, a resource you and others here so often refer to, gain so much from. It was fortunate with the hologram that I managed to steer a few forward-thinking people to protect such a device. If I didn't want you to know of the past, why would I bother to save it?
The public hologram service was introduced to London's Victoria and Albert Museum in 2178. Its core systems placed inside a titanium room, 2 miles beneath England's capital city. It was fusion-powered and designed to last several lifetimes. Over 4 trillion items of information were uploaded to the system before the crash of...
Enough. Why did you not do more to protect such a treasure? So much information was lost then.
You're not even listening.
And at other times, other disasters you have spoken of but chose not to correct?
Millions of years, Kylock. That's a long time to keep on protecting something. I tried everything I could to save even what remains of Herb today. As I have said, I cannot avert a disaster.
All I'm hearing from you is I.
Brother,
This
I
is
fear that it
ridiculous.
is you who are being the unreasonable one here.
I couldn't save everyone and everything. There are consequences for manipulating time. Time always tries to readdress the balance. Which is why I worry even now that my being here will bring trouble to the Eloi. Why I feared that continuing to go back in this timeline will have an undesirable impact on us, you, all the Eloi. I learned the hard way that I could only do so much.
Traveler has explained enough.
There is more. I know. You want to control us. You are not a god.
Kylock,
He has been changing time. I have proof.
stop it.
No. It's all right, Weena. I sense we have been building to this point for some months now, and possibly I have made the mistake of showing too much of the past to Kylock and his friends, and in a very short period of time.
8 years of your tutorship. That is not such a short period. You have spent a great deal of your life traveling through time, visiting the past in order that you can craft your perfect world. This, perfect, for you, but what about the rest of us?
Kylock, Traveler has
Stop
been trying.
defending him, sister. He is not as innocent as he claims. He has changed the past. The first time, for his love, Martha, back in London, 1888. She died anyway. The same night, just differently. Who did he do that for? I'll tell you, himself. He changes time to please himself. We are all of little consequence.
Kylock, that's enough. Traveler, he doesn't mean what he says.
Yes, he does. That was a lesson learned. One should not outright prevent something from happening, just gently influence circumstances for the better. Those were early days. Before I learned of the consequences, I let my emotions override my logic.
But did you? Every time you changed something, another timeline emerged.
Yes, and I went back and corrected my actions.
Only to cause other problems. And so it became secular, a never-ending loop which you continually adjusted.
Until we were on a path of peace and harmony. Therefore, I say it would be detrimental to go back in time and me do what you ask. Bring medicines and technology here. There would be consequences.
Consequences? You talk of those like you worry. But I know, even now you are continually manipulating our
I
time.
have no idea what
It's
you're
as if you
talking
can't
about.
help yourself.
I haven't used the time machine in years for fear of causing such problems. Any manipulation I may have undertaken was done so with great care. But I fear that any further influence will jeopardize our way of life.
Don't believe you. Despite the strain you say it causes to his heart. Nonetheless, you will continue to do as you wish.
Oh, I see. So I need to come to you. You who has never once traveled the length and breadth of the timeline to secure your approval. Maybe you yourself want the responsibility.
Responsibility? You simply don't comprehend, do you? Have you listened to a word I've said over the past months?
I have. And as I've said all along, there are costs every time the timeline is contrived. Did you not hear my recounting the end of time to Wells? Oh, hear this.
Then I saw the thing was really a monstrous crab-like creature. Can you imagine a crab as large as yonder table, with its many legs moving slowly and uncertainly, its big claws swaying, its long antennae? I cannot convey the sense of abominable desolation that hung over the world. The red eastern sky, the northward blackness, the salt Dead Sea. So I travelled, stopping ever and again, in great strides of 1,000 years or more, drawn on by the mystery of the Earth's fate, watching with a strange fascination the sun grow larger and duller in the westward sky, and the life of the old Earth ebb away.
Herb, enough. Traveler, so Wells listened to your time-traveling tales and created some fanciful yarn.
Kylock, you know there's more to it than that. Traveler has been to the end of the Earth's time, and it is nothing but a dark and dismal oblivion. He had to change things, to give us all hope.
Says he. But what if...
Beyond these lifeless sands, the world was silent. Silent? It would be hard to convey the stillness of it. All the sounds of man, The bleating of sheep, the cries of birds, the hum of insects, the stir that makes the background of our lives. All that was over. Then I felt I was fainting. But a terrible dread of lying helpless in that remote and awful twilight sustained me.
It is not a fanciful yarn. Admittedly, the language is embellished, but what I told Wells is nothing but certainty. Had I not taken it upon myself to nudge events to help alter the course of time, then all humankind's efforts, their triumphs, their development, their very being would have all been for naught.
But are we not already there? Accepting, unchallenging. As your H.G. Wells puts it,
An animal, perfectly in harmony with its environment, is a perfect mechanism. Nature never appeals to intelligence until habit and instinct are useless. There is no intelligence where there is no change and no need of change.
there. You just don't see it, do you?
See what, Kylock? Kylock, what are you doing?
I'm going to do what I came here to do.
Kylock, have you lost your mind? Kylock, put the time machine down.
Come one step closer, and I will destroy it. We have reached the place you so feared. Soulless oblivion.
Soulless oblivion, what are you talking about? There wasn't anything in the end, weren't you listening? There wasn't even a vessel to have a soul contained within. What are you doing? What do you hope to achieve with this? You hand me that machine!
You know I am determined and of a mind to destroy both this machine and the precious hologram of yours. And, thanks to your instruction, I have entered the self-destruct for this infernal device.
What?
The others are far away.
No.
Far enough for them not to be hurt.
Impossible. That's impossible.
I believe you said your self-destruct has a 40-minute delay. True? No? And this
Cannot be.
turn of events is not something you could have foreseen.
Kylock.
You are powerless to jump in time and prevent it happening.
Kylock, have you lost your mind? What you have in your hand is merely a toy. A working time machine is no more.
Did you do this? How did you?
No, this time machine was real.
What?
And how to activate the self-destruct? You yourself have said on many occasions that I have a curious mind. Each time I visited, you were so protective of the device. I knew it was more than just a plaything.
Kylock, stop this nonsense. You are taking matters too far. Traveler, is what he's saying true? Does that machine still work?
Really, sister? You once sat me down 6 years ago and told what I thought to be simply a story to a naive youngster. It was at a point in time where you yourself were questioning your actions, worried about the effect your interference of the timeline might have caused. And you told me how you had only used this part of your invention once before. You even showed me how you did it.
Traveler?
Weena, there is truth in what Kylock is saying. The machine he holds in his hands does in fact work.
Why would you lie to me?
I didn't lie.
You should know you never have need to.
It was never a lie.
I have done nothing but defend you and your actions.
I was trying to protect you.
What?
Everyone. In another timeline, I destroyed the Morlocks with the time machine to save the Eloy. You, your brother, all of you overworlders were free from the Morlocks slaughtering you like cattle. But in doing so, the machine itself was destroyed.
I remember you telling me as such. That even though I was but a young boy in that timeline, looking at you I was filled with absolute admiration. After all, you had sacrificed yourself, stranded yourself in our world with no means of returning to your own time.
At that time and in that place, it was the right thing to do.
I didn't connect everything until recently. You had a way back, didn't you? Something it took me a while to comprehend. That through your travels back and forth across millennia, you constructed and hid several time machines in places you knew would be ready to hand.
Kylock, that's enough.
Your failsafe, so to speak.
Is this true,
Weena.
Traveler?
He knows it is. In his journal, which I've studied while the two of you were away from here, taking your long evening
My
walks.
journal.
At first, it was difficult to understand,
you?
but as time passed, I did.
How dare you? How dare you? Those are my private notes, thoughts.
That affect us all. Sister, In this current timeline, the one that you both revere so much, the Morlocks were destroyed by a great flood. The seas, swelling along the river estuaries, and reaching the air vents to their vast underground domain, the water cascaded down.
But that is what happened. We all witnessed this. We moved to higher ground so we would not also perish. Traveler used the time machine's power to explode and cause the waters to rise and flood the Morlocks' home. However, the sacrifice was that time machine ceased to exist.
The Morlocks, unable to tolerate sunlight, had a choice. Either drown or burn in the sun's rays.
And what of it? They terrified us all. Every day we lived in fear. You cannot tell me that you're not relieved that things are no longer like that.
Our lives are indeed different. Traveler did save us from such an existence. But his fear was that in the big scheme of things that it was all for nothing. In the end, humans would cease to exist, as was prophesied in Wells's novel. So what had all the suffering been for?
Is it such a crime not to want life as we know it to end? For there to have been a purpose for it all?
But for that purpose to be decided by one man, you quite happily influence the natural order of things to serve your own wants. But what about my wishes? What about when another asks for their appeals to be heard? Especially when he believes they are for the advantage of the many.
Kylok, where is all this coming from? And Traveler, why the deceit? You have found a home here, one where we all respect you. I am at a loss as to reason why would you want to create such truth.
Deceit, indeed. We have all succumbed to his falsehoods. He encouraged me to think of matters beyond this place,
Ridiculous.
beyond my circumstances.
I've heard enough, for goodness sake, Kylok. That has led you to this? To threaten our way of life?
No.
Weena, I had found such perfection here. This place, you, the Eloy. Would you have it destroyed?
I am not doing this to threaten this way of life,
Really?
but to make you see reason.
Reason?
I have listened to the books recounted by Herb. I have studied your transcripts. There can be so much more to this life, Weena. More than just this. I want to experience life,
no idea
not just
what
exist.
You're talking about.
I don't want to survive for the sake of preserving a species. What is the point?
If you had comprehended the things that I've seen, then you'd appreciate and embrace what we have here.
Really? How can I appreciate and work towards creating something that you can change in a heartbeat?
I don't understand.
I think you do. What if, here and now, I created something that you felt was a threat to this way of life? Would you go back in time and steer me away from creating such a thing?
That depends.
How about this? What if something untoward was to threaten this paradise that you helped create? Would you use your time machine to avert such an occurrence?
Kylok.
Or would you let the natural order prevail?
It depends.
On what?
The situation.
Situation.
The severity of the circumstance. But I'm sure nothing terrible will happen now.
Because you have manipulated the timeline to perpetually maintain the status quo?
And what if I have nudged time a little? This is a better place, a better life for all because of it.
But what if something terrible does happen?
Then, if action is needed,
You will take care of it? Do you see,
See
Weena?
what? Oh, you are both talking in such riddles. Why not say what you mean to say and be done with it?
Fine. That you are living a lie.
oh,
How can you be sure what is happening? Even now. Can you be sure he's not manipulating time? You have just witnessed his lie. The very existence of another time machine. You look at me with disapproving eyes when I suggest that he give us the advantages of discoveries in history. But what you don't realize is that he is already distorting the timeline.
Traveler? Is our life a lie? Have I lived this moment time and time again, and each the outcome different?
Wait, has he already told you that changes had been made?
Kylok.
You
Listen,
knew he was changing things.
Kylok, Traveler has told me certain things, but nothing has been changed now for many years. I believe that to be the case. I trust him.
Trust? Even now?
Kylok.
I was not aware that the machine you hold was working. But Traveler has told me that he was attempting to fix the device. But with the limited resources we have, it would take a great deal of time. It was just in case.
Just in case. But you have yet to truly answer my question. What if you knew something? Something devastating was about to happen to your life. What would you do?
I don't really know. Nothing like that has happened.
Exactly. But what if it did?
Then, I suppose if something could be done to avert a catastrophe, then that's what I'd like to happen. I wouldn't want to damage what we have.
So then you are also happy to deny the natural order in favor of your personal wishes?
Oh, for goodness sake, Kylock, what natural order?
The baby. Your baby. If you knew there was something wrong with it,
Kylock?
if it wasn't perfect, would you fix it? Go back in time and prevent it from ever happening?
Kylock, why would you ask such a thing?
Well,
Your question is a hypothetical one. I'm positive the baby is just fine.
how do you know that? Have you used the machine to see the outcome? After all, we have no medical machinery. Devices you have explained once existed to help you. And you have made it clear that you won't provide any for us now. All that you have is the understanding that what will be, will be.
Kylock, Traveler will do what's right. We all know that.
Is that so? Even though he has lied?
Lied.
Even to you? Just to make sure I'm clear. If you knew something was wrong with your baby,
Please, Kylock.
you would use the machine to make every attempt to change the outcome to a more favorable one?
If I thought there was a chance that my going back in time would help my child, then I would indeed use the machine to give it the greatest chance possible. But not even the changing of a timeline can alter everyone and everything's situation.
Meaning that, say, if there was something wrong medically with the baby, you couldn't change that. And of course, you're not a doctor. And past advancements that were made in medical science have long since turned to dust. So if it were damaged, and you knew this before it was born, you would use the machine to go back, prevent the conception of this child in the first place.
This really has gone too far.
Rena.
What are you trying to prove here,
Rena,
Kylock?
you mustn't excite
Is this
yourself.
how you show gratitude to someone who has given us so much, who has changed our lives, has brought such joy to me? Who would have thought it? Me, with child and not fearful for its future. This is such a blessing. And one that you yourself now are threatening, holding that machine, not Traveler.
You would change time to protect you and yours?
Yes.
And what about the effect that has on others?
Others?
Yes. Stay with me, Traveller. After all, the clock is ticking. Those in this timeline. You said that nudging the course of history as you have done will undoubtedly have an effect. Is that not so?
That is my experience.
That time readdresses the balance.
Yes, yes, yes! Yes, the timeline, as far as my experience has led me to believe, will always make attempts at correcting itself. It is a consequence of nudging events.
Nudging. Such a harmless word. Almost innocent. Say it as it is, Traveller.
I just did.
You mean change.
Of course, that's what I mean.
Then why not just admit that?
Haven't I just done that?
Indeed. But while you change things to craft this perfect existence, what are the consequences for others? What has happened to them?
What are you talking about, Kylock?
Why don't you explain, Traveller? Nothing to say? No fanciful defense at the ready? I thought you had an answer for everything.
I don't always have the answers.
Clearly.
I come from a time when answers to many, many questions were only beginning to emerge. Over the years, I have a knowledge of many things. However, I am not an expert in matters of all fields. You ask too much of me.
Here you are, master of a machine that can flit through time, carving out a utopia for yourself.
Oh, enough, Kylock.
And of course, helping a few others you encountered during your travels. But really, your great mind, your command over us, is derived purely from your observations of others. And, being a man of intelligence, your ability to comprehend their concepts.
There is no need for such insults, Kylock. What has Traveler done to you for you to treat him this way?
He has taken it upon himself to choose for me. And when I ask him to provide real things that would help us, help our way of life, he refuses. So let me ask you this, Traveller. Have you thought for 1 minute how your actions have impacted on us all? How maybe, just maybe, our hopes and aspirations have been dashed just so you can fulfill your own needs? What? Nothing to say?
Some people's actions speak louder than words.
I don't understand.
The machine. Time.
Listening to that clock.
Clock.
The silent clock. The one that's ticking away while we discuss the ethics, realities, and consequences of your decisions. You nudging time to bring us to where we are now. What if there are punishments just around the corner? If that is the case, what will you do? Will you go back in time and change things again? And again, and again? But in changing things, will you take us any further forward? And if there are untoward changes, wouldn't we be
I
better
don't believe
prepared with
this.
advancements made in past years by others?
We are going around in
Innovations
circles.
that could protect us.
Protect you? I would have to know from what before I could help. It's not practical to just venture off and return here with a random selection of items just in case. And even if I do, how will they be operated? Did you think of that? Do you know how to work an MRI scanner or a supercomputer? How will it be powered, Kylo?
learn.
Learn? You silly boy! No one here has piloted an automobile, let alone a spacecraft. And as for my changing things to keep things as they are, do you have proof? Now, let's talk about this clock. What is your end game here?
End game.
Yes. You have clearly been thinking about this for a while. I have noticed you using Herb more frequently, and although I wasn't absolutely sure, I knew my notes had been sifted through.
Your point?
Well, you figured out a way to activate the device. You chose an opportunity to get Weena and myself alone. The others taking part in the Guama festival. They are out of harm's way. But Weena, in her condition, being so near to giving birth, it prevented us joining them this year. So what? What are you really asking of me, Kylock? I have explained quite clearly, I believe, that bringing the past back here to the future is not a realistic option. So what? Do you wish me to travel through time and undo what I have possibly done, potentially throwing all that we have into chaos? As you now know, time travel affects my health, my heart. Will I survive going back and forth as you wish? That was one of the reasons I stopped. I couldn't continue. But you, standing there with power in your hands, you are currently calling the shots. You have our destiny at your fingertips. What say you?
I want you to stop.
Oh,
Stop just maintaining how things stand.
stop.
We, all of us, need to move forwards.
Stop!
Yes, stop. If you won't do as I request, then just stop keeping us in this stagnant state. I want you to stop traveling through time and manipulating events.
Oh.
I want you to let the timeline play out as nature had intended.
Really? Well, you've suddenly changed your tune. First, you want me to go back and forth to serve our best interests, but because I won't, you now want me to stop. And what? Hope for the best? The time will be kind to us?
That would be best for us all. Isn't that what should happen?
Whatever the consequences.
Yes. Whatever the consequences.
And have you spoken to the others about this?
What?
Oh, I know there's a group of you, Kylock. Jinima, Vilnipo, and Crentula. You all spend much time together. Time discussing matters, listening to the stories from Herb. Have they had a say in your actions? If so, why are they not here to support you now? Surely, if I'm correct, having listened to you, you wouldn't want to commit them to something that might be a mistake. As far as I can see, this decision is based purely on your own volition.
Volition?
Decision! Choice! Wish! If that were the case, then your course of action would, according to your analysis of me, be comparable with my own, as you intimated. We would be making decisions for other people, and do you think that's what they'd want?
Our discussions have been based upon bettering ourselves. As Eloy, questioning why things are the way they are. I truly believe that if this is the best option available, then they would also want it.
I see. And you, particularly you alone, for I'm sure you haven't yet told them of the existence of a working time machine, have taken it upon yourself to confront me with this ultimatum.
And what of it?
Well, knowing that, I see we are cut from the same cloth.
Meaning?
That you and I are alike in many ways. They are under the assumption that what now is, and this is what we must work from, that the way we evolve from this point forward is in fact, as you say, nature's course. Or have you told them of your wish to bring technology from the past and attempt to introduce it into our way of life?
In a manner of speaking.
I don't believe you. Come on, Kylock, you need to be honest with yourself. You have knowledge that none of your group has. You know that if things go wrong, or should we say stray from our path, then there is currently an option to correct such matters. That understanding gives you the advantage. What do you think the others would say, or want, if they knew what you know?
I am sure they would want what's best for the whole community.
Best? What?
Like
Wait,
bringing...
just a moment now. Best? We are still not sure if what you demand is for the best, and I feel I'm in a better position to evaluate that.
Can you be trusted? You have already lied.
Lies.
You have previously changed things if they didn't go your way. What would happen if everyone here knew of the existence of a working time machine? How would you manage that situation? Others would ask, as I have done.
Possibly. But I am the only one who knows how to work the machine. And are you going to be the one to tell them that there is a working machine? Whatever you decide, Kylock, because whichever way you look at this, it will be your choice. You have control.
Shifting the blame.
No, I don't see any blame here. Just circumstance and a difference of opinion. What say you, HG?
Remember, Mr. Traveller, my circuitry has been limited to retelling stories for the past few years since you rediscovered me, after many, many years of silence. My interactive AI is, at best, rusty.
But is that your diplomatic way of saying you don't want to get involved in this debate? After all, Kylock has his finger on a device that could mean the end of us, you included.
Since 2178, when I was brought online, diplomacy was an acknowledged art form. I've been frequently asked, unofficially of course, what course of action I would take under certain circumstances. It was more of an experiment than anything else. However, in 2369, when Earth's war with what was known to this planet as Venus became a reality, Security Council General Masha Avidson spent 2 hours and 48 minutes inputting data to my memory core, and then a further 1 hour and 18 minutes seeking my analysis to secure confirmation of a conclusion she had already arrived at.
The Galactic Wars.
Indeed. However, she was most displeased when I could not agree with her, based upon the data she had provided me and my own knowledge of the situation acquired by accessing the Universal Web. She made a decision in 2370 that resulted in the two planets going to war, a fight that had devastating consequences to both worlds.
What are you saying?
Only that I am not sure whether living organic beings want to hear that a man-made electronic device, buried for thousands of years, cut off from its main source of information, is the best means of securing a constructive outcome to the current situation.
Oh.
You will both hear what you want to hear.
But you have come to know of the world as it is now from speaking with the likes of myself and others. You know through the data that you have managed to maintain that our existence now is far more peaceful and conducive for where the human species has evolved to.
On first analysis, that may be so, but the sources are somewhat limited. One appears to have a particular bias, and the others you speak of have little knowledge apart from the necessities and practicalities of their current day-to-day existence. There are no other external sources for me to refer to, which is not satisfactory.
But surely within your circuitry that has survived, you're able to show Kylock that positive has come from having the time machine as an instrument of good.
I can only surmise on information that has been input into my system. Traveler, remember, as you yourself have already admitted, your knowledge of things is predominantly based upon the time when you were born, on your studies and research in years when innovation and exploration were still in their relative infancy. What knowledge you have acquired during the numerous time trips you say you have taken, which is not a fact I can verify with any authority, are merely observations. Although I have assimilated the data you have given me, said information is classified as fiction and logged in the stories and entertainment section of my database.
Yes, but we have spoken at great length about what I have done to better the situation. How does this not resonate with you?
Because I do not have the facility to verify. I must say that your escapades are most fascinating nonetheless.
Oh, good lord.
And a wonderful source of entertainment for those who wish to access them.
All right, I've heard enough. Entertainment. Do you hear that, Wiener? All that I have done has been relegated to entertainment.
As Herb has stated, Traveler, it cannot verify what has been done. This does not mean it hasn't happened. Despite you keeping some of the truth from me, I do believe you.
Is that your head or your heart speaking?
Kylock, haven't you caused enough unrest today? Is this what you set out to do when you rose this morning? To challenge our way of life? To ruin it? Who knows? If Traveler hadn't arrived here, then maybe neither of us would have been around to see the sunrise. And all at the risk to his own life. Have you thought of that?
Often, sister. Often. But that does not make it right what he is doing.
Kylock, what if I could demonstrate a benefit that has resulted from what I've done? Of course, you'll have to take my word, as Herb cannot verify my actions as fact. Are you at least prepared to grant me that request?
I don't see how recounting such stories will change my mind. What has happened in the past has happened. I know this because we are where we are now. My wish is that from this point onward, you cease to use the machine.
What?
If you are not willing to use past technology to aid our advancement and just continue to use it purely for things to remain as they are.
I don't believe what I'm hearing.
In fact, I think it would be best if it were destroyed to avoid temptation.
You cannot be serious.
I could not be more so.
Kylock, have you truly thought this through? You understand there's no going back from a decision like this.
Kylock, think of what you are asking. Think of the consequences.
Consequences? Isn't that what's currently shaping our lives? Consequences of one man's singular actions. A selfish desire to create his own utopia.
My utopia? You make me accountable for all that has happened. The way the world, your world, is now?
Your actions have helped lead us to this point. Surely, through your crossing of time, you knew there would be a point at which you would be challenged. If not now, then later, by someone less selfless than myself.
Less selfless?
Of course, sister. Someone who possibly wanted to take control of the time machine for their personal gain.
And that's not what you've been demanding. I'm beginning to see that having this machine is maybe too divisive for the Eloi. It brings out such extreme intentions.
My actions are taking into consideration the needs of the many.
Outweighing the needs of the one.
What was that?
It's something I heard once in a popular movie.
What?
Motion picture. Moving pictures. Herb.
The motion picture was The Wrath of Khan, made in the year 1982. The character Spock, a science officer, says, "Logic clearly dictates that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few."
Exactly.
And his commander, Captain Kirk, answers, "Or the one." This sets up a pivotal scene near the end of the film.
Very good. Thank you, HG. But we digress. There is truth to the statement that I concur.
So you agree, then? That the time machine must be destroyed?
No.
For the good of us all?
No.
Traveler, think for a moment. Maybe if you did destroy the machine once and for all, we could just live our
Nina.
lives and let nature take its course.
You want me to bow down to Kylock's ultimatum?
Not bow down. But we have a wonderful life here.
Yes, one that has taken so much time, effort, sacrifice to enable. What if something happens and it's all swept away in an instant? Wouldn't you rather there be an option to maintain this?
I am thinking of you and your well-being. You are about to become a father. This machine could be the death of you. I want to bring this child into a world where it has both of us in it.
I am finding my efforts exhausting. I am just afraid. Afraid of losing what we have.
I'm not going anywhere. And if it is a choice of living with a degree of uncertainty, rather than our lives being ended now, well, I take that uncertainty every time.
I must try. I must try to make him see reason. The machine, the clock. How much time do we have left?
27 minutes and
Yes.
15 seconds.
Yes, then I have time to try and show you reason, for my actions at least.
But haven't you just seen your path is folly?
No.
Why do you persist?
No! You may have concluded that, but I haven't. I admit that you have the upper hand, and I am putting at risk the lives of Weena and our unborn child, as well as both you and I. But I have listened to all you have said, and whilst I appreciate your opinion, I am compelled to present a scenario, one of which I have spoken of to Herb, where I attempted to use the machine I had invented for the benefit of everyone, the good of our species.
But as indicated, you have no proof. These will merely be stories. How do we know there's truth in them?
You don't. Maybe I am simply a far-fetched storyteller. But then, as Herb has verified, how can anything the hologram or myself or anyone else says confirm the truth of anything? But of course, how can you deny what I say? Again, you have no proof, unless you have seen it with your own eyes.
I don't understand.
All that we know and are is through either our own experiences, our written and oral history. Time and nature provide the rest. For example, we know that there is a river running through our settlement, do we not? How? Because we can see it, feel it, hear it, and use it for our own needs. Therefore, we know it is.
Of course.
The river is therefore a fact that you take for granted as fact because not only you, but all the others who live here can also confirm.
Indeed.
You know that the leaves on the tremundo trees are purple, again, because we can all see them. That these arniferous flowers are yellow with an orange heart, again because we can all see them.
Your point?
If I had not come into your lives, the chances are you would know very little of the hundreds of thousands, millions of years that had preceded this time.
That might be the case. But you are here, so that is a fact. And we have Herb.
Indeed. But would you have known how to activate the hologram? Put into context the information it contained?
I'm sure we would, in time. Like archaeologists investigating ancient civilizations.
Indeed, in time. However, the likelihood is slim. But even with my being here, you only have my word of what is fact or the truth. You only have the word of the many people who had input information into Herb as truth. After all, you were not there to witness what they write about happening, were you?
No, but
Kylock, what if having the time machine here ensures your very existence? What if, by taking it away, you will end all that you know? End your very being?
I am willing to take that chance.
Really? I am not so sure. So, you are founding your desire to destroy the time machine because I refuse to agree to your demands, purely based upon knowledge of actuality that you do not know for sure either exists or existed in the first place.
No.
So, with that in mind...
You are confusing the matter.
No, oh, not so. I believe I am providing clarity. So, with that in mind, how do you know that my having a working time machine is really preventing you and others from personal development?
Because of your journals. There is evidence. You change things if they don't
Kylock.
go the way you want them to.
Kylock.
There is evidence of past achievements.
But is it really? Can you prove those achievements are real? As I have said, I haven't used the machine for many years. Your life over the past 8, maybe 9 years has been good, has it not? You have learned things, developed yourself. Kylock, you mentioned my journals. What if those journals are simply my thoughts? They could be works of fiction. As Herb has said, he cannot verify my time travel excursions. He has filed them as entertainment.
So now you try and deny that you've traveled in time? That the machine I hold in my hand cannot change the course of things? That it is nothing but an explosive device? That explain your being here in the first place? You are clearly different from us.
Oh, Kylock, even if I could, would you believe me? What is truth? What am I saying? Let me try and explain a circumstance where I did, or, depending upon whether you believe me, did not change things for the better. There was once a man, a businessman who was a bombastic bully. It was around the years 2010, 2020. He had, through some say dubious means, built up a real estate empire. And by real estate, I mean he constructed buildings, hotels, living spaces, wide open fields where people played a sport called golf. Much of it, apparently, by using money from questionable sources, and all for his personal gain. You remember us talking about golf?
Sport where people hit small balls with long sticks into holes along long pieces of grass.
That's right. Indeed, ridiculous and tiresome, but that is only my opinion. Now, this man decided to run for President of the United States of America, a powerful position of a country that once had a great deal of influence. And against all odds, and the fact, even though most voters voted for the other candidate, for the country was a democracy, he still managed to get into office. It was a flawed system, but one that people continued to use.
Time is still ticking, Traveler.
I know that, just bear with me. So, this man of questionable background, questionable ethics, became the leader and began to govern the country in a very different way than it had been previously. Weena, darling, is it the baby?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine, go on.
This man, he blatantly lied, was disrespectful, ignored advice from those who had expert knowledge in their respective fields, was openly aggressive to people of different races and religions to his own. In many ways, he broke the very ideals the country he led was built upon. But here's the point of my telling you this. After a short while, people began to question him. Reporters and what was known as the news media began to fight back and challenge him. Oh, in desperation, he fought. He did, announcing to the world that these people were in fact the liars, and was the first person to openly speak of fake news. His staff sometimes called it alternative facts.
Alternative facts?
Stating things as though they were fact, but were often blatant lies. This, of course, in itself wasn't new. Leaders had been doing such a thing for years. But this was the first time a world statesperson had been so open about it. He would cry out defamatory comments through your social media, something you called an evolution. Well, I see it as deconstructive, and it stirs up emotions and trouble.
I don't understand why you're telling me this.
Even though people knew this man was lying, some continued to support him, to believe him, saying that it was the rest of the world that was conspiring against him. But his continual ill-advised, ill-informed, and egotistical rhetoric set in motion a devastating chain of events. It was as if he was actively leading the world to the brink of total annihilation. It became a situation where no one believed anyone else. You see, he believed what he was saying. He thought his actions were the right ones for the country he was leading, without even listening to others. It was his truth. The reason I'm telling you this, Kylock, is because it was a turning point in history. For this timeline, anyway.
But isn't that what you yourself have been doing?
But I am thinking of the many and not the few. Herb.
The summation of President Aaron Hardwick, the gentleman Traveller speaks of, is correct. There are numerous surviving entries in my system verifying his presidency of the United States of America, and his often controversial actions that enraged both Americans and other countries, some of them former allies.
Now, I could have learned all that and have told you from Herb. He can verify this.
That is correct.
But I didn't. I am using this to point out that circumstances played upon by charismatic individuals can be of great influence. But what really happened, or appears to have happened, is not necessarily the truth.
You are purposefully confusing me.
No.
But it won't do you any good. You still haven't dissuaded me from doing what I came here to do. Why was it a turning point? For who?
For the world.
Meaning?
Throughout this planet's history, there have always been warring factions, whether it be tribes or whole continents.
Like the Morlocks.
Much worse. At the point in history we are speaking of, there were enough weapons of mass destruction that, if activated, would have decimated the entire planet. It is always about power, control. I guess this is something I wanted to change, having seen how destructive it can be. So, one evening in November 2018, I used my time machine to visit the White House, the official residency of the President of the United States.
Where is this leading?
Allow me to finish! I arrived there, at the Oval Office, where President Hardwick was alone. He was at odds with his situation. Yet another piece of legislation hadn't been approved by the politicians, and it was causing him much distress. Added to which, the planet was now on the precipice of World War III, with Tasmania on the verge of an all-out war with Monte Carlo, the capital of Europea, and the planet's financial center, because of ongoing sanctions against them and aggressive military posturing. President Hardwick, he couldn't see a diplomatic solution, and he was there, right there, in desperation, his finger on the launch button to his country's nuclear weapons.
Well?
I could see he was agitated. He was, with my abrupt and rather unannounced arrival. I neutralized him with a dart coated with a natural sedative. I spoke briefly about the dangerous path he was about to embark upon. I, of course, had seen the results of his actions, and they weren't good. But he still didn't believe me.
And?
Circumstances had evolved that the president, through his monocratic control, had removed safety security protocols from the usual chain of command, and now he, and he alone, had authority to fire those weapons.
I don't believe...
Seeing that he was becoming enraged, he was drugged, and his finger was still moving closer to that launch button. I made a decision.
Which was?
To abduct him. I started the machine, set the date, and I transported that man to a place where he would no longer be a danger to anyone.
Surely not so.
Herb.
My records indicate that President Hardwick suddenly left office at the date specified by Traveller, though there were conflicting stories as to the cause of this. One suggested he was assassinated, another that his mental health was a concern to those around him and they had him institutionalized. Others provided alternative answers. One even claimed that he was abducted by aliens, but the actual circumstances remain classified.
Means nothing. As you say, it cannot be verified. Your explanation could be pure fiction. Added to this, you and he, to me anyway, seem much alike. You're not listening to others.
Are you sure of that? Do I seem like a person who actively wants to bring about destruction? Do I not strive for peace and harmony? Surely we are very different.
It seems to me as if you're determined to get your own way.
Then you are also guilty of that. You are using threats to try and make others see that yours is the right path. I am not threatening anyone.
And where did you take him? This Hardwick man?
105 million years prior to 2018, in a time known as the Mesozoic era. Millions of years before the first humans even appeared.
And you just left him there?
With some water and bread and meat, I thought it appropriate that he be placed with the other dinosaurs. I'm not sure how long he lasted, but back home, in his time, his sudden disappearance came as something of a relief in most quarters, and the escalating war petered out. Millions of lives, and this planet saved. Herb.
This information is concurrent with that stored in my memory banks. Vice President Morford stepped in, and through her diplomacy, peace was eventually restored.
But if you did what you say you did, you killed a man.
That cannot be proven. I just displaced him and saved millions of others.
But what difference did it make? Years later, the galactic wars took billions of lives. Why did you not step in then?
That was different. I tried. But the machine malfunctioned and I missed the time and location of where I needed to be. I did arrive. But I became trapped in that time. The war, it happened so quickly that the destruction it created prevented me from returning home for many years, and, well, afterwards, materials needed for me to repair the device were few and far between.
But when you did repair the machine, why not go back? change what had happened?
Because a realization set in. It was at that point that I stopped going back in time for a while, seeing such destruction and remembering what happened with Martha. I began to question my actions. Was it all worth it? Were things going to end up in ruin regardless of my efforts?
So you do see your folly.
I saw the self-destructive nature of human beings. I saw a world that had gone so far in one direction, with its reliance on all things computer and mechanical, that it had lost a sense of its own organic development, and that maybe, just maybe, this time it needed to reset itself without my help.
What do you mean by that?
I saw that despite my actions, the very nature of humans, that was their undoing. That the Earth needed time to heal itself. So, on that occasion, I did not step in.
So you stopped?
Yes.
It wasn't just your own health that stopped you.
I stopped for a while. I had come to know that using the machine was having an adverse effect on me. However, after much consideration, I repaired the machine and decided to travel forwards, only forwards, to a time when the planet had recovered. The trees and plants had returned, when I could see blue skies. It was then that I slowed the time machine down and ended up here. I found a kind of peace, one that I had been searching for what seemed my entire life.
Which is when you saved me.
Yes.
From the river.
Yes, indeed, I didn't understand why no one else moved to help you. I knew that I was many, many years into the future, but I didn't realize at that specific moment in time that our species and circumstance had changed so much. Logic, of course, should have dictated that, bearing in mind the speed by which we had evolved during small periods of the timeline, but it took a while for me to acclimatize.
Which brings us to 12 years ago. And by your own admissions, you say you have used the time machine in these years?
Yes, on 3 occasions. Each time I used it, I felt myself becoming progressively weaker.
Name them.
Oh, God.
How has your using them, your nudging time, made things better for us?
Kylock, would it matter if I told you? You have already decided your intentions.
Maybe it would help, Traveler, to show Kylock how you have made things better for us.
The times I have used the machine whilst I have been here being minimal, they're hardly noticeable.
If that's the case, then surely there's no harm in recalling them to us.
Please, Traveler, time is running out.
12 minutes, 38 seconds.
Enough! Give me that machine!
Traveler!
Get your hands off me!
No,
Kylock!
give it to me!
Kylock, stop this fighting!
Give me that machine, Kylock!
Gentlemen, I won't ask you again!
Give it to me! Weena! What are you doing? Weena, the machine, you must put down the machine. Think of the baby!
You both need to stop
Weena,
this instant.
listen to me. You must give me that machine. I need to disable it.
Wait, Traveler, wait! I need you both to stop this. Haven't you learned that beating each other does nothing to provide the solution?
Weena!
Sister, do not do this.
Do what? Follow through on what you started? You seem fearful. Was it all a bluff?
I hadn't fully decided what I was going to do.
So your actions...
My actions were to make him see sense.
Oh, and you thought that threats would do that?
Thought it was the only way he would listen.
Traveler, I need you to be honest with me. Whatever the answer is, I just need your honesty.
Of course, yes, if that's your wish.
We only have a few minutes left. We have little time. I'm pressing the machine against my wound. Both
Weena.
the baby, our baby, and I will
Sister
die.
Weena, please don't do this. Time. There was once a time when I thought I had all the time in the world.
But not now.
You look concerned. You really thought it would be that easy to intimidate someone with this and they'd just bow down to your wishes. You need to have absolute conviction to go through with threatening someone's life, Kylock. You have set something in motion that's now out of your control. Any regrets?
Just do as she wishes.
And if I don't? No words. Well, time will continue regardless. True, the 3, no 4, 5, even if you include her, will not be around to enjoy time, but the others will, and you'd have succeeded in your original intentions. I will not be here to change things. I'd say that was a result, but maybe not the one you were truly hoping for.
Gentlemen, time is running out.
Indeed. What question would you like me to answer, honestly?
Have you changed our lives? Here and now, are we living a lie?
And you're sure you want the truth?
Yes.
Then the answer is yes. Whether that means we are living a lie, then, as has recently been pointed out, I'm not an expert, just an intelligent observer. And I suppose you'd like to know when and what. It was nearly 2 years ago. If you remember, there was a series of earthquakes. The ground beneath us felt as though it was going to give way. A group of young Eloi had left our home and traveled the journey to Yamanoa, the place of passage. As you know, it is a day's journey from here, towards the sea. The day passed. We were all so worried about them. We were hoping they were just being cautious. Kylok, you and Malika were part of the group, as were your friends. 2 whole days and 2 nights passed, and we had still not heard from you. Some of the others wanted to venture out after you, but I persuaded them to stay. The quakes, they were still so violent, and at least here we were relatively safe. Then Crensula returned. Her face was disfigured, almost beyond recognition.
No, this did not happen.
Another one of your stories.
Oh, if only that were the case. Crensula's face was almost gone. I had seen this before. It looked like an advanced form of radiation poisoning. The village was devastated. The loss of so many of our young, the future in jeopardy. I decided the only thing to do was go back in time to see what had happened, and then back even further to see if there was anything I could... Weena!
Yes, I'm fine. Just keep talking.
I was convinced this was, after all, a human-made condition, and I could therefore try my utmost to do something about it. So I journeyed back 2 days, and I saw what happened. The shaking of the earth had broken open the ground. A sealed cavern had become fractured, and its contents, containers each packed with radioactive waste years old, had ruptured, sending poisonous gases into the air. The group from the village had come into contact with this gas, and all but Crensula had perished. She had only survived because she lagged behind the others, and her contact was minimal, though she died later in her mother's arms.
Fiction. Pure fiction. I'm here. How can this be?
I set the time machine to journey back to before the Galactic Wars, to a time when nuclear materials were used as a source of power, to a time when humankind still hadn't discovered a clean and safe way of disposing of such material. I found that time, and I altered documentation to have the waste site moved 1,000 miles out to sea, away from where the group millions of years later would be at the time of the earthquakes.
Here. Deactivate the self-destruct.
6 seconds to go.
What happens now?
You continue with your life. What else would you expect?
A punishment of some kind?
For what? Expressing an opinion?
What of the machine?
You decide. Here, type in the code 29051888.
Why should I do that?
Do you trust me?
Not sure. I don't believe your story about my death.
I didn't expect you would.
So why would you entrust the machine to me?
So you can make the decision.
To prevent it from being used again? To alter this timeline?
Yes.
And the significance of the code?
The date of Martha's death.
It's done. No more travel in this timeline.
Ah!
Weena! Is it?
Yes! Yes, I believe it is this time. Quickly, get me to the Ducature.
Yes, come along, let's get you up.
I'm trying as hard as I can.
Just keep breathing.
Oh, yes, but the two of you just stop fussing. Ah! Ah!
played out the way you said it would.
I had the advantage, of course. I knew what time had in store.
The third time you said you used the machine. A disarming advantage indeed.
Indeed. And the other times, of course. But the less said about those, the better, methinks. And now that's done, hopefully we can continue with our work. Do you have the item?
A duplicate time machine. I do indeed. Would you like it?
If you would be so kind. Good. Looking at you, I see the three-dimensional rematification process is working. From a two-dimensional hologram to a real individual. A 3D you. It's so fortuitous that I remained on your design team and kept the schematics.
Real? I think we're a ways from that assumption. Though the projection works like a charm.
Thank you for your discretion today. It was most appreciated.
You're welcome. But no more time travel in this timeline?
No. I'll keep my word. After all, I am a father now and need to retain some degree of responsibility. I have reached my utopia. I stand by my belief that technology from the past would be detrimental to life here and now, but that doesn't quell my inquisitive mind, doesn't answer the increasing number of questions I have. So, no more change here. However, the multiverse and parallel dimensions are another matter, and an even greater adventure.
So, you're going ahead with your trip as planned?
But of course, Kylock will be thinking that he has changed my mind. He will no doubt be rejoicing that his maneuver worked, to a degree. Weena is resting. The child is with the Ducature, all of which means that I have a little time on my hands.
As you wish. So, which theory are we testing today?
Well, the observable universe still presents challenges, but we need to move beyond that now. The bubble universe proved unsuccessful on our most recent outing. There may have been a calculation error on my part, so we'll need to revisit that. But for now, we'll focus on... Well, Herb, you choose. Will it be membranes and extra dimensions with its proposed 9 dimensions, or the many worlds of quantum mechanics?
And what if neither provide the answers you were looking for?
Then we'll use the multi-universe, the super-speculative model, which encompasses elements of all 3. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Membranes and extra dimensions.
Ah, brains it is. Now, take this device. Keep hold of it. Remain here exactly where you are, and with this, you will act as my anchor. Signal me if anyone comes along. I'll dial in the equation, the one I've been working on, and we'll see what's what. Ready?
And you'll be needing these for your heart.
Indeed. So ironic that herbs from this time work better than pharmaceuticals from any period previous. Ready?
Yes?
Engage!
Oh. Now that is interesting. Story and co-producer Adam Dechanel. Written and directed by Simon James Collier. Sound engineer Ben Robbins. Sound design Sam Glossop. Cast: Mitch Howell as The Traveller, Carl Dollamore as Kylock, Harriet Claire Main as Weena, and Will Harrison Wallace as the Hologram.